Wee Willie Winkie by Rudyard Kipling. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by James Christopher. Wee Willie Winkie by Rudyard Kipling. His full name was Percival William Williams, but he picked up the other name in a nursery book, and that was the end of christened titles. His mother's ayah called him Willie Baba, but as he never paid the faintest attention to anything that the ayah said, her wisdom did not help matters. His father was the colonel of the 195th, and as soon as Wee Willie Winkie was old enough to understand what military discipline meant, Colonel Williams put him under it. There was no other way of managing the child. When he was good for a week, he drew good conduct pay, and when he was bad, he was deprived of his good conduct stripe. Generally he was bad, for India offers so many chances to little 6-year-olds of going wrong. Children resent familiarity from strangers, and Wee Willie Winkie was a very particular child. Once he accepted an acquaintance, he was graciously pleased to thaw. He accepted Brandis, a subaltern of the 195th, on sight. Brandis was having tea at the colonel's, and Wee Willie Winkie entered strong in the possession of a good conduct badge won for not chasing hens round the compound. He regarded Brandis with gravity for at least 10 minutes, and then delivered himself of his opinion. "I like you," he said slowly, getting off his chair and coming over to Brandis. "I like you. I shall call you Copy, because of your hair. Do you mind being called Copy? It is because of the hair, you know." Here was one of the most embarrassing of Wee Willie Winkie's peculiarities. He would look at a stranger for some time, and then, without warning or explanation, would give him a name. And the name stuck. No regimental penalties could break Wee Willie Winkie of this habit. He lost his good conduct badge for christening the commissioner's wife Pobbs, but nothing that the colonel could do could make the station forego the nickname, and Miss Colin remained Mrs. Pobbs until the end of her stay. So Brandis was christened Copy, and rose, therefore, in the estimation of the regiment. If Wee Willie Winkie took an interest in anyone, the fortunate man was envied alike by the mess and the rank and file, and in their envy lay no suspicion of self-interest. The colonel's son was idolized on his own merits entirely. Yet Wee Willie Winkie was not lovely, his face permanently freckled, as his legs were permanently scratched, and in spite of his mother's almost tearful remonstrances, he had insisted upon having his long yellow locks cut short in the military fashion. "I want my hair like Sergeant Tummel," said Wee Willie Winkie, and his father abetting, the sacrifice was accomplished. 3 weeks after the bestowal of his youthful affections on Lieutenant Brandis, henceforth to be called Copy for the sake of brevity, Wee Willie Winkie was destined to behold strange things and far beyond his comprehension. Copy returned his liking with interest. Copy had let him wear for 5 rapturous minutes his own big sword, just as tall as Wee Willie Winkie. Copy had promised him a terrier puppy, and Copy had permitted him to witness the miraculous operation of shaving. Nay, more, Copy had said that even he, Wee Willie Winkie, would rise in time to the ownership of a box of shiny knives, a silver soap box, and a silver-handled sputter brush, as Wee Willie Winkie called it. Decidedly, there was no one except his father, who could give or take away good conduct badges at pleasure, half so wise, strong, and valiant as Copy, with the Afghan and Egyptian medals on his breast. Why, then, should Copy be guilty of the unmanly weakness of kissing, vehemently kissing, a big girl, Miss Allardyce to wit? In the course of a morning ride, Wee Willie Winkie had seen Copy so doing, and, like the gentleman he was, had promptly wheeled round and cantered back to his groom, lest the groom should also see. Under ordinary circumstances he would have spoken to his father, but he felt instinctively that this was a matter on which Copy ought first to be consulted. "Copy!" shouted Wee Willie Winkie, reining up outside that subaltern's bungalow early one morning. "I want to see you, Copy." "Come in, young'un," returned Copy, who was at early breakfast in the midst of his dogs. "What mischief have you been getting into now?" Wee Willie Winkie had done nothing notoriously bad for 3 days, and so stood on a pinnacle of virtue. "I've been doing nothing bad," said he, curling up into a long chair with a studious affectation of the colonel's languor after a hot parade. He buried his freckled nose in a teacup, and, with eyes staring roundly over the rim, asked, "I say, Copy, is it proper to kiss big girls?" "By Jove, you're beginning early. Who do you want to kiss?" "No one. My mother is always kissing me if I don't stop her. If it isn't proper, how was you kissing Miss Allardyce's big girl last morning, by the canal?" Copy's brow wrinkled. He and Miss Allardyce had with great craft managed to keep their engagement secret for a fortnight. There were urgent and imperative reasons why Major Allardyce should not know how matters stood for at least another month, and this small marplot had discovered a great deal too much. I saw you, said Wee Willie Winkie calmly, but the groom didn't see. I said, Hut Jow. Oh, you had that much sense, you young rip, groaned poor Coppy, half amused and half angry. And how many people may you have told about it? Only me myself. You didn't tell when I tried to ride the buffalo when my pony was lame, and I thought you wouldn't like. Winkie, said Coppy enthusiastically, shaking the small hand, you're the best of good fellows. Look here, you can't understand all these things. One of these days, hang it, how can I make you see it? I'm going to marry Miss Allardyce, and then she'll be Mrs. Coppy, as you say. If your young mind is so scandalized at the idea of kissing big girls, go and tell your father. What will happen? Asked Wee Willie Winkie, who firmly believed that his father was omnipotent. I shall get into trouble, said Coppy, playing his trump card with an appealing look at the holder of the ace. Then I won't, said Wee Willie Winkie briefly. But my father says it's unmanly to be always kissing, and I didn't think you'd do that, Coppy. I'm not always kissing, old chap. It's only now and then, and when you're bigger you'll do it too. Your father meant that it's not good for little boys. Ah, said Wee Willie Winkie, now fully enlightened. It's like the sputter brush. Exactly, said Coppy gravely. But I don't think I ever want to kiss big girls, nor no one except my mother, and I must that, you know. There was a long pause, broken by Wee Willie Winkie. Are you fond of this big girl, Coppy? Awfully, said Coppy. Fonder than you are of Belle, or Vibucha, or me? It's in a different way, said Coppy. You see, one of these days Miss Allardyce will belong to me, but you'll grow up and command the regiment, and all sorts of things. It's quite different, you see. Very well, said Wee Willie Winkie, rising. If you're fond of the big girl, I won't tell anyone. I must go now. Coppy rose and escorted his small guest to the door, adding, You're the best of little fellows, Winkie. I tell you what. In 30 days from now you can tell if you like. Tell any one you like. Thus the secret of the Brandis Allardyce engagement was dependent on a little child's word. Coppy, who knew Wee Willie Winkie's idea of truth, was at ease, for he felt that he would not break promises. Wee Willie Winkie betrayed a special and unusual interest in Miss Allardyce, and, slowly revolving round that embarrassed young lady, was used to regarding her gravely, with unwinking eye. He was trying to discover why Coppy should have kissed her. She was not half so nice as his own mother. On the other hand, she was Coppy's property, and would in time belong to him. Therefore, it behooved him to treat her with as much respect as Coppy's big sword or shiny pistol. The idea that he shared a great secret in common with Coppy kept Wee Willie Winkie unusually virtuous for 3 weeks. Then the old Adam broke out, and he made what he called a campfire at the bottom of the garden. How could he have foreseen that the flying sparks would have lighted the colonel's little haystack and consumed a week's store for the horses? Sudden and swift was the punishment, depriving of the good conduct badge, and, most sorrowful of all, 2 days' confinement to barracks, the house and the veranda, coupled with the withdrawal of the light of his father's countenance. He took the sentence like the man he strove to be, drew himself up with a quivering under lip, saluted, and once clear of the room, ran to weep bitterly in his nursery, called by him my quarters. Coppy came in the afternoon and attempted to console the culprit. I'm under a west, said Wee Willie Winkie mournfully, and I didn't ought to speak to you. Very early the next morning he climbed to the roof of the house, that was not forbidden, and beheld Miss Allardyce going for a ride. Where are you going? Cried Wee Willie Winkie. Across the river, she answered, and trotted forward. Now the cantonment in which the 195th lay was bounded on the north by a river, dry in the winter. From his earliest years Wee Willie Winkie had been forbidden to go across the river, and had noted that even Coppy, the almost almighty Coppy, had never set foot beyond it. Wee Willie Winkie had once been read to, out of a big blue book, The History of the Princess and the Goblins, a most wonderful tale of a land where the goblins were always warring with the children of men until they were defeated by one Curdie. Ever since that date it seemed to him that the bare black and purple hills across the river were inhabited by goblins, and, in truth, everyone had said that there lived the bad men. Even in his own house the lower halves of the windows were covered with green paper on account of the bad men who might, if allowed clear view, fire into peaceful drawing-rooms and comfortable bedrooms. Certainly, beyond the river, which was the end of all the earth, lived the bad men. And here was Major Allardyce's big girl, Coppy's property, preparing to venture into their borders. What would Coppy say if anything happened to her, if the goblins ran off with her as they did the Curdie princess? She must at all hazards be turned back. The house was still. Wee Willie Winkie reflected for a moment on the very terrible wrath of his father, and then broke his arrest. It was a crime unspeakable. The low